ThatGreatBusinessShow.com is brought to you by De Facto Shaving Oil, the best anyone can get. Made in Ireland, sold worldwide.
Welcome to episode 73 of That Great Business Show, posting on the 4th of February 2022. I'm Conal O'Moran, and on this episode we'll talk about how you sell Irish porridge to the world. We revisit an incredible tech company that has some really big news for TeamGBS, and you've heard of Lego and Pokemon. Well, we bring you Holotoys, a company that has just won the same prize for toys that those two big beasts won in the past. Sharing and linking this podcast is commercial gold for us. It's so simple to do and so valuable for us. If you like the podcast, and many, many thousands do, just press that share button on whatever social media you use. TeamGBS says thank you. And regular listeners know that our final question to guests is always, who would you hire in a heartbeat? It's our way of connecting our guests with some big names worldwide that would be or could be good for business. On episode 61, we had Lisa Haskins from VidMob. Do check out that interview. It's a phenomenal technology, and she gave lots and lots of great digital marketing insights. Lisa named Germany-based Mariana Leal Meret, who is a global marketeer with Delivery Hero, as her must-hire. And because of her marketing creativity, she is deemed to be one of the best in the world. And guess what? This week, Mariana made contact with me through LinkedIn. I made contact with Lisa, and now the two are in talks. So it works. As Lisa Haskins wrote to me, such a great part of your podcast. Delighted to help. And all of these great insights are brought to you via this podcast, which is sponsored by De Facto Shaving Oil. Man or woman, it's the best anyone can get. Buy it right now on defactoshave.com.
That Great Business Show.
The textbooks will tell you that if you are located on a small, wet island on the edge of Europe and you want to grow a worldwide business, make sure you're shipping high-value items that has no or is low in weight. Software has been the absolute godsend to this country because of that. But hold your horses. There are some fabulous food companies shipping relatively low value but bulky items around the world and making a damn good go at it. Flahavan's porridge is an iconic Irish brand manufactured in County Waterford, but that is now shipping more and more across the world. I'm a huge fan of the product, but in terms of business, you'd think it kind of defies logic. So who better to put a fire under your food export plans and probably other products than James Flahavan? Yes, part of the family. He's also the company's international development manager. James Flahavan, welcome to That Great Business Show.
Thanks, Colin. Thanks for having me.
You have a background in finance. We'll leave that aside because you've moved on 11 years from that. You are now, as I said, international development manager because Flahavans, the brand, is growing and growing and growing abroad. Discuss.
Yeah, so I suppose I came into the business back 10, 11 years ago now, and with the remit to try and do just that, to grow those export sales. So I think when I joined, we were selling to maybe about four countries around the world, and now that's gone up to 20. The relative size within our business has increased as well. So it's gone from it was about maybe 10-11% of total business to closer to 27-28% today. So
I have raised my eyebrows. I actually thought you were going to say 20, but that is good. 27%.
Yeah. So it's almost getting to a third of the business is on the export side. So, and
progress and growth has been easy.
I'm not so sure I'd say that, but it has been kind of steady growth in various different markets, but it's not without challenges along the way. So I suppose like each market would be a standalone market for us, and with various different customers and requirements and needs and everything that goes along with it. But it's been a fun journey.
The big one is the UK.
Yeah.
Where and how are you selling into the UK?
So we sell directly to retail customers over there. So we supply the likes of Waitrose, Sainsbury's, Tesco, Morrison's, Asda, Ocado, all of those retailers, and we supply them directly. We do have some third-party storage over there, given the kind of turnaround time that they like to have in terms of orders. They'll place an order one day looking for delivery in 48 hours time. So it just wouldn't be practical for us to deliver directly from here to there. So we do have some third-party logistics that we use, but we have those relationships directly.
And say with Tesco, did that relationship come out of an Irish relationship?
It was a little bit before my time when that one started, but my understanding was that there was a buyer who had moved from the Irish entity over to the UK, and they had some connection there between the two. So yeah, I think there was a little bit of kind of a benefit of the Irish connection. Yeah,
and I presume, and I don't know, that you have UK competitors that are in the exact same space.
We would, yeah. There'd be various different competitors in the market there. So there'd be Quaker Oats and Scot's Oats, which would both be owned by a US multinational, Pepsico, and then there'd be a few other competitors there as well in that space.
So how do you differentiate yourselves? I mean, you're probably going to kill me now when I say, surely an oat is an oat is an oat.
Well, yes and no. I suppose the name is right, but I suppose there's various different inputs that go into developing the oat, into the finished product. So there's the environment, the weather, the soil, the temperatures it's subjected to, and I suppose what we know is that in Ireland we have probably the best growing conditions for oats in the world. That we have that mild temperate climate that really benefits the grass. It also it really benefits oats, which would be kind of a hardier cereal grain compared to, say, your wheat or your barley. Sometimes they'd perform better in where you get higher heat, so maybe slightly lower down, closer to more southerly, higher temperatures. So in Ireland, yeah, we get those perfect temperatures.
I'm just imagining you going into the buyer in Tesco and telling him or her this story, and they're going to go, come on, everybody says, we've got the best climate in the world, we've got the nicest soil in the world, etc. How do you actually prove that to them?
Well, I suppose like the proof is in the pudding. Like, you first of all, you want them to try the product.
Of course.
You want them to taste it, and to, you can tell them all these various different differences, but until they actually taste it, they won't, they may or may not kind of take it at face value. I suppose what we would often do is we would enter our products into blind taste awards. So there's a competition in the UK called the Great Taste Awards, which is all blind tasting. So there's no brands or anything known as part of that. So we would enter our kind of main UK products there every other year probably. But when we do enter, we always get the highest awarded commendation within our category. So
and why don't you do it every year? That's curious.
I suppose I would. I probably have a thing about even numbers. I kind of tend to go in when we have even numbered years.
But I know exactly the kind of the award that you're talking about, because we have Blossom here in Ireland, very similar.
Yeah.
And if I see that you're a winner in 2022, I will definitely taste that product and probably buy it for preference. But if you're a year or 2 years out of date, surely you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah, I think we're usually, only ever 1 year behind. But I think, I've seen packaging in the UK which would date back. They can reference back a win about 10 years prior. So I think we try to keep it as relevant as possible while keeping the overheads a little bit lower.
And how do you raise? Again, you have limited budgets. You will not match PepsiCo on budgets. How do you get the brand name across, and what channels do you use?
Well, we actually don't do a huge amount of advertising in the UK market, and we have built a huge amount of our business there off of organic growth and possibly word of mouth and recommendations, and then also an element of public relations as well. So, getting our products featured in the right publications, getting them out to the right people who would be influencers for want of a better word. So yeah, like it's a combination of the two, but I suppose we've done it kind of gradually over the years. So we've never invested that much. Yeah, like you said, we wouldn't have the same budgets as a multinational. So I suppose we just tried to work within our own means in the market.
Which is curious because you are a multinational because you're in 20 countries, so that makes you a multinational. I'm just laughing to myself. I'm thinking that if you could get Daniel Craig as 007 to eat your product, shaken not stirred or whatever, that might be a nice one. So in the UK, did you tell me just now that you were selling directly to the consumer as well?
No, to those retailers, yeah. Not direct to consumer there.
There's no website stuff that I can buy and get shipped to the UK?
It's not currently set up with all the kind of permutations around Brexit.
I was going to ask the B word.
Yeah. So we found it to be a little bit maybe more challenging to try and service, the direct to customer market or consumer market there in the UK. So it's a lot easier to do in Ireland, where you kind of know the rules of the game at the outset.
And the third biggest market, if I'm right, is into the US, which again, eyes kind of wide open. And that is the home of PepsiCo. So I presume the home of Quaker and other brands that are kicking you around the place, but you still seem to be growing.
Yeah. So that's a kind of a market that's been maybe a slower build. So again, we started there probably about 10 years ago now, and that's had various different ups and downs, but it's growing. And yeah, look, I suppose it is the home of Quaker. Yeah, you're right. But I suppose we'd just be, a speck on the horizon there from their point of view. Like I think the market is worth $1.3 billion, something like that. So where we are at the moment in that market, we wouldn't be of relevance to them, say, but we are kind of, in the premium oatmeal category, we are doing okay there. Yeah.
And again, how are you positioning yourself there? How do you get that message across?
Well, I suppose it is a different route to market to get the product onto shelf there. So compared to, like we mentioned there about the UK, we have an alternative supply chain there. So we go via an importer, and then they sell to a distributor who in turn sells to a retailer. So there's a few more links in the chain, and then a few more obviously would be looking for kind of margin out of your end price to the consumer. So naturally our price for our products is higher on shelf there compared to what it would be here or in the UK market. So it does kind of change the value proposition. So we do have to kind of pitch it at a more kind of maybe a more premium level there. So I think it's a slightly different message that we have. We have slightly different packaging in the US market compared to what we have in here.
And do you promote Ireland, Irish, and all that on the American one, or does that matter?
We would, yeah. It definitely does matter. I think they would recognise Irish oatmeal as being the premium oatmeal. So that is taken as a that is recognised there. So I suppose that is something that we do highlight quite a bit on our packaging. The other areas that we would highlight is around the sustainability initiatives that we're doing, the connections to our growers, the heritage of the brand. All of those different things really resonate with the US consumer.
I loved it on your website where you claim that you're 100 years older than the Irish state. I thought that was a nice one. Yeah. So going into the States, distribution, like I can just see a van load or a container load of Flahavans going off to the UK. I can see that in my mind's eye. How in the name do you ship your oats to the US? Like, it's a big bloody country.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So I suppose we that's why we have to use the network that I mentioned there. So the importer who lands all of the goods. So we send them to one location, and from
in a
there,
container or
in containers, yeah,
okay,
yeah. And then they would go from there to the various different customers that the importer would have. So they import a range of other different brands, so they would consolidate and ship off other specialty items to those distributors. So yeah, I suppose it is containers that we get there. Yeah.
And then those are the first two of the countries, and you said 20. So the other ones, the 18, the other ones, where just what are the bigger ones that you're going into and growing in?
Yeah, so the bigger ones then would be the likes of, say, South Korea would be one of the next markets.
Get away.
Yeah.
Why or how South Korea?
I suppose it kind of
take the credit. Remember, you're there.
Yeah. So okay. Well, I started a relationship there with a distributor about 7 or 8 years ago now, and
but you started a relationship. Come on, how did you? Was it LinkedIn, or did you just phone him up or her up or?
Yeah, it's a lady, and she had been in Ireland, and she had done an MBA actually in Trinity, and wanted to start a business that would bring the virtues of Ireland back to her home country in Korea.
Love it.
So she started a distribution business, and we've been the biggest success that she's had to date in terms of bringing Ireland to the Koreans. Yeah,
and the Koreans obviously like oatmeal. Well,
I suppose it was a relatively new food stuff for them at the time when we started importing. But they do, yeah, they have a huge appetite for it now. And
huge appetite?
Yeah, so it's gone really well for us. So I suppose, yeah, like the diet there, you know, in terms of a staple food, the main carbohydrate that would have been used would have been rice, and still is. But they're, in terms of, you know, overall health benefits, they do recognize the benefit of taking, you know, having a grain that has a higher fiber content, that they can use to vary the diet away from white rice. And I suppose it has all the health benefits associated with the product that, you know, not every product can say that.
And beyond your oats, you are forever looking at new products. And one of the ones that I noticed that you introduced was the microwave one. And that was born pre-COVID, but it was aimed at the office market. Was that it?
I suppose our microwave one actually goes back probably about 20 years, I'd say. And really how it came about was we were hearing that people were, you know, finding it challenging to make oatmeal the right way at home. And they had various different reasons around why it, you know, the barriers for them to make it. So whether it was around not getting the proportions of the ingredients right, you know, having to do the washing up of the saucepans if you made it on the hob, all of those different reasons.
I'm hearing men.
Well, I suppose, like, there was lots of different reasons why they you know, consumers were saying that they, you know, that they weren't kind of going back to the more traditional porridges. So we came about with the microwave product, like you mentioned, which kind of, you know, knocked down those barriers. So it made the product so you could make it, you know, individually to your liking. There's a scoop in it to measure the proportions, so you're not going to go wrong there. You can make it in a bowl, and it won't.
We used to use cups. We still use cups. It works very well. Oh my good God, what you have to do to try to sell a product. And the next one that you're doing is the overnight soakage one. But that also used to be the way it was back in the day, if I remember.
Yeah. We do have, we have a product called Overnight Oats, and
I've done my research.
and it is used slightly differently to the porridge now. So why we say to soak the porridge is that it cooks quicker when you heat it the next morning. But the overnight oats is slightly different. So we would recommend that you could soak it in fruit juice or in milk, say, and then you add.
Don't be messing with it. It's milk. It's got to be milk.
Well, lots of people have it different ways.
No, forget about that. No.
But then you add some yogurt on top and you eat it cold. So it's actually just a slightly different proposition from the soaking of the oats. So they're for two slightly different reasons.
Well, it's not what they used to give prisoners, cold porridge.
I'm not sure.
You've never seen the inside of a prison. Go on, say it.
Yeah. Thankfully,
and you are forever trying to come up with new oat-related products. What's next coming up?
Well, the one that we've most recently launched is our Irish Oat Drink. So we have three variants of it. So we have a barista, an organic, and a vitamin-rich variant. And we launched them last year, and they've gone really well for us so far. So I suppose it's a unique proposition in that it was the only commercially available oat drink using Irish oats on a large scale basis.
And have you tried to ship those abroad?
We have shipped them to a couple of countries, yeah, but I suppose the focus is on the Irish market for that product at the moment, yeah.
Because there are other brands that are way ahead of you there at the moment.
Yeah. Like,
and do you then
it's a new category, but it's still competitive as well.
And do you then focus on Flahavans, or where on an Irish shelf? How are you promoting it to get across the Flahavan story?
Well, I suppose it's part of our portfolio of products. Yeah, so it's underneath the Flahavans halo. I suppose the unique proposition is the usage of Irish oats. And then ultimately it will always come down to taste as well. So it has to perform on taste. And then if it's used in coffees, there's a few various other attributes that say a barista will look for around whether it's foamability or performing at high temperatures, things like that. So
isn't it funny? Go back 15 years and you were in finance in London. Did you ever think that you might be on a podcast talking about foamability?
I probably didn't envision it back then, but yeah, no, it's great to be here though.
And the plant eating and the whole plant movement is playing straight into your side of the world, correct?
Yeah, well, I suppose that is a movement that has gathered momentum. Every year, that kind of that shift in kind of consumer choice and consumer behavior towards plant-based, and there's lots of different reasons why people are looking to kind of to change or to even just to modify their diets ever so slightly. Whether it's reducing your intake of meat or dairy or whatever it is. So I suppose what we're looking to do is just to offer choice, really in that regard. And I suppose, yeah, we're lucky that we do all of our offerings would be plant-based and, vegan friendly. Yeah, I suppose it's something that, has, I think it's probably, a ways to go still, but it's a trend that, we're happy to be part of at the moment.
Your time has come, basically.
Yeah.
Question. The Flahavans have a very extended family. Tell the truth now. I'm watching. Do they all eat porridge? Or is there just one, who says, good God, I wouldn't go near that?
Oh, God. I'm not sure now, because I think, to be honest, I think everyone does eat it, but I wouldn't be able to fully verify that.
That sounds like Boris Johnson answered that. That's good.
But what we do have is, for anyone in the family that doesn't want porridge, we have granolas, mueslis, flapjack bars. There's a huge range to choose from for breakfast offerings now. So it's not just the porridge, but that is our core business though.
Two last questions. One, the future. What do you think it looks like for you? I want to say for you, for Flahavans.
I suppose what we want to do is to continue on that export growth, that kind of trajectory that we've been on. We'd like to have that presence in more countries and deepen the penetration in those countries that we are in. And then I suppose we'd like to explore what alternative uses there are for oats. Like so at the moment we're quite anchored to the breakfast category, into cereals. But I suppose, oats is a foodstuff that's tremendously versatile. So we'd love to kind of explore options for other uses of oats.
Are you exploring oat burgers? You may laugh. I bet you that we'll be eating oat burgers in 5 years' time.
Yeah. I suppose, we might have to bring you into our product development team, Conal. But
I told you I'm a milk on porridge man only. I'm not going to divert from there.
Yeah.
Is there anything that TeamGBS, those are our listeners, can we do for you? Because we do have listeners. I know they're in South Africa, they're in New Zealand, they're in Finland, across the States. We have them everywhere.
I suppose the markets that we're looking to grow in are those export markets. So if you come across the product and you haven't tried it before, we'd love them to try and pick it up and try that taste difference versus what they're used to. So
the final question is, who would James Flahavan hire in a heartbeat?
So I was thinking about that, Conal. So I guess someone who I think would be a fit for our business would be maybe someone like a John Jordan from Ornua, and what he has done over the years in terms of the expansion that they've done around the Kerrygold brand, and the growth that they've achieved has just been absolutely phenomenal. And the recognition that they have in a lot of the countries that we would go to, we would see the Kerrygold brand.
Number one brand in Germany, isn't it? Number one of... It certainly has got another status in the US as well.
I think it's the number 2 butter brand in the US.
Not a bad claim.
Yeah.
Big market.
So that's the ambition for us, is to
be the number 1 brand oatmeal in the world.
Exactly.
Fantastic. Great story. James Flahavan of the Flavin family. How many Flahavans are working in the business, actually?
So there's
10, 20, 40?
There's 4 of us at the moment. So there's my dad and he's...
I had an idea that they were in everywhere, that, it was kind of the default place to go for a job.
Not really. I suppose we try and be as light on our feet as possible. So there's probably not maybe as many people working there as you may think. But so there's my dad, and then I have a sister and a brother working there as well.
And that is one of them, James Flahavan. Thanks very much for joining us on That Great Business Show.
Viscosity. When you shave, you want the highest viscosity because it helps the blade run smoother. De facto, the world's best shaving oil, has incredible viscosity. That's why De facto leaves your face, underarms or legs nick-free. Higher viscosity makes blades last longer. De facto is the best for your skin and your pocket. DeFactoShave.com.
Everyday accounting can be a bit of a drama for SMEs. However, BigRedCloud.com takes the drama away with its simple and easy to use cloud-based accounting and payroll software designed for SME owners. Raise and send invoices, manage VAT reports and obligations, run management reports, link directly to Irish banks, automatically import purchase invoices, and so much more. All with 5-star customer support. BigRedCloud.com, 100% Irish owned and a proud member of TeamGBS.
Subscribe today to That Great Business Show on your favourite podcast platform, including Apple and Spotify.
How time flies during COVID. We had a Tralee, County Kerry-based company called WAZP, that's spelled WAZP, on the podcast previously. And when I went back to check exactly when, to my absolute surprise, I saw they were last with us on episode 10, so more than 14 months ago, and boy, but a whole lot of things have happened to them since then. I'm going to keep this simple. WAZP is a 3D printing company, so what says you? Aren't there plenty of those around? Well, WAZP, you'll hear, is a little bit different, and this is my view. The technology they use could quite literally, eventually, maybe sooner, maybe later, change how the world trades. Yes, that big. Shane Hassett is co-founder and CEO of WAZP. Welcome to That Great Business Show, Shane.
Thank you very much, Colin.
You've come up from Tralee, 3 hours, you were telling me.
3 hours, exactly.
That's not bad.
Not bad at all.
We live in a gorgeous little country, and thank you for the roads. What we need is a big road to Donegal and to make this place at least commutable.
Exactly.
I know everybody hates roads, but I don't. I love them. But anyway, there you go. What are you up to? You're on a big splurge of for publicity at the moment because something big is happening at WAZP.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes me very proud to hear you describe our business. I like to look at it in the same way, but it's very good to hear it from outside of my own head for a change.
But I've learned from you because it was your dad who was here before and he was talking away and I'm thinking, as I was talking to him, wow, this is mad. Better explain to the listeners what you do, how you do it, and how mad this sounds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give an example, please.
We started a number of years ago in the industry, and the industry had been and still to today is very much focused on prototyping. And when we got into the business, we were, myself and Marianne and my co-founder, were coming from a mass manufacturing background. So we wanted to incorporate that thinking into into the technology. Now, it's not a like-for-like technology, so we couldn't just take what we had learned in traditional manufacturing and apply it to additive technology. We had to find ways to make this technology accessible to as many people as possible, and that was always our goal. So over the last number of years, and particularly the last 2 years, our vision has started to really kind of take shape and be adopted by the market. One of our core areas of development has been the development of a supply chain that delivers on demand and direct to the consumer. And by on demand, what I essentially mean is that the product doesn't physically exist until the customer pays for it. Then once the customer pays for it, we receive the order and
And talk me through a living example. Now, I know that there are brand names that I'm not allowed to mention, but imagine a brand that we could mention and just talk me through what would happen. Conal O'Moran walks into a certain department store, says, I want one of those, and they say what?
So
might be easier to do it online.
Online,
yeah,
exactly.
So Conal is sitting in his bed and he says, I need a
decorative item for the kitchen, let's say, or for the living room.
I wonder, you're talking about something specific.
It might
get onto that now.
Be.
Anyway, a decorative item, sure, I see it and I say, I'll buy it. What happens next?
So you just do your traditional shopping process online, put in your card details, get your delivery date, and then in the background, the information comes to us, where you're based, what product you want, your customization options, if there is that there. So that could be size or colour. Then we receive that, and within 48 hours from the moment that we receive that, we should dispatch that to you. And during those 20 or 48 hours, we'll manufacture it in a 3D printer. We have some industrial grade 3D printers, which are really high quality and really quite quick printers. Then we'll do all the post-processing, removing powder, cleaning it up, any dyeing that needs to be done. Then we'll put it into the company that you purchased it from. We'll put it into their packaging and with their logos, everything packed and ready to go, the same as if you would have gone into the shop and pick it up. That's essentially consolidated into a package. Everything is then shipped, and a couple of days after it leaves our place, it arrives to you. So a product that was essentially a mound of powder, when you press the pay button, we process the whole lot of it, or manufacture it, and send it directly to you.
And at the moment, all done in Tralee, County Kerry.
All done in Tralee, County Kerry, exactly.
Now, tell me the vision. This is my vision as well, I think, is that means we no longer have to ship items already manufactured around the world, send them for distribution into distribution depots and all of the above, and.
Exactly. I mean, one of the key things for me with the vision is what we call the one-to-one supply-demand ratio. A big part of waste comes from overproduction. So in traditional models, you might produce 100,000 of something, and you'd base that prediction on what you sold last year, what you sold the year before, but it's an accurate predictor, but it's no guarantee of the future. So you will end up with a certain amount of stock sitting on warehouses for a long time, and then eventually going to the landfill
And then demand being somewhere else, sitting in a warehouse in Wyoming, and the demand is down in Mexico or something.
Exactly, that's it, absolutely. And the other side of that as well is underproduction. No one wants a missed opportunity. So if you can get to a one-to-one demand supply, then you're reducing your impact on the environment, while maintaining or potentially even growing your ability to sell or your ability to meet demand, and that's a key part of it for us. Another aspect of it as well is that the closer the 3D printer is to the time and location of need, the more sense it makes from both an economic perspective and from a supply chain perspective. So at the moment, a lot of our products are going to Germany. So that you'd say, Shane, that doesn't really line up with what we're discussing here. But a part of our vision is to start putting factories that are identical to what we have in Tralee closer to our key consumer, our key markets, or the areas where we do direct to consumer. So we're looking at Germany, obviously Austria is a key one for us. Scandinavia is very, very interesting. We already work with a company in Finland that helps us supply certain products as well. So we have established that model, and it works quite well. Now we want to take the blueprint that we've spent time developing, the smart factory, small factories that are capable of responding on any given day to different types of products. That on one day you can be making a decorative item, the next day you could be making housing or 3D printed shoes or eyewear, or in fact you could do it all in the same day because it doesn't matter to the printer.
The eyewear one is fascinating. Now I know I can say the brand name there because it's written in the newspaper. Exactly. It's called
Specsavers.
Specsavers.
Exactly.
What are you doing for them, and how are you doing it?
So a big part of, we're all familiar with, Industry 4.0 and manufacturing 4.0. So basically where we are today, the digitalization of the supply chain and manufacturing, and particularly products. And that's, really enabled by additive technology or by 3D printing technology. The next phase, as I would see it, industry or manufacturing 5.0 is built around personalization. So we've gone through automation, electrification, if that's the right word, and digitalization. Now we're working on digitalization, but moving forward as well to personalization. And the personalization is key to a lot of markets, the eyewear, the shoewear, the footwear markets, that we can have that customization or a real level of personalization that you would go to the opticians, have your face scanned, look through a library of products and pick which one you want, and then have that immediately, fitted to your shape, size, maybe even change the color if that's an option there, and then have that manufactured in very much the same way that I described earlier. So what we have with the earlier model for the simple decorative items, we call that on-demand simple. Then the next area moving forward into manufacturing 5.0 is on-demand unique. And that's an area that we work with a lot of eyewear businesses on, and particularly the footwear as well. So in having your foot scanned and wrapping a file around it.
I cannot get you see, I've never seen one of your 3D printers. I cannot in my head see, how do you print footwear?
It's, the printing process is a little bit like, doing a slice pan backwards, essentially. It's a layer upon layer upon layer.
Which is fine, but you're trying to have an area for my foot and for the laces, if they're laces, and all that. It's fascinating.
It is. The technology is very flexible, and that's one of the key advantages of it. If you set up a mold or, a CNC machine or whichever else, you do have some level of flexibility, but it's really not a case of, it doesn't make sense to change that every day. Additive technologies or 3D printers really allow you to do that. And in essence, and actually in practicality, we do it. We print multiple products from multiple customers at the same time in the same printer.
I was also told that, and I still can't get my head around that one either, because you also do computer mouses or mice or whatever.
Exactly.
And you can do a flip-flop, a Specsavers, a pair of glasses, and a mouse at the same time.
You can, absolutely.
Exactly. I think fascinating. How many people work in Tralee?
We have 13 full-time and 5 part-time as well.
And would that be the model, say, in Germany and or in Austria and or?
The way I would look at it, I know you haven't been to our factory yet, but you're more than welcome to join.
I'm going to go.
Exactly, you're more than welcome. So if you imagine it's kind of a long building, the bottom 50% is the blueprint for the smart factory, and the top 50% is where we sit, where we do our sales calls, marketing, where we manage the engineering and the production and so on. That area we won't start dotting around the place. It's the 50% below, and that we can pick that up and put that in any location. You know, our vision is to maybe be able to put it in a container at some stage, that sort of size. But
print it.
Print a container, exactly.
But we're probably laughing now, but I know that they're printing houses.
Oh,
so
yeah,
why not print a factory, I suppose?
Absolutely, and food is being printed at the moment. Food is being explored at the moment. I know that there's a couple of companies that have had success with burger meat, for example. So, and there's a couple. I'm not sure what materials they're using, but I think that's the advantage of additive. It allows you to explore. You know, we have an issue with red meat is probably unsustainable in the long term as well. Insects are a reliable, sustainable source of protein, but no one really wants to look at it. So if a 3D printer can enable that to look like a burger, taste like a burger, then you have a sustainable solution. Now we're not involved in the food side of it, but I can dream. You know?
So back to the expansion. Where are you going to go next? And that obviously means funds?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a model that we're working on. First of all, to answer your first question, I would imagine that our plan is to do Germany first. It's our biggest market. It's an
Any particular reason? Do they just like 3D? Or is it work called 3D or something?
Yeah, exactly. I would say that a lot of it has to do with the affordability, or let's say the level of wealth in certain markets. 3D printed products are still a little bit, they are more expensive than what you might have expected from a traditional, 100,000 run on a mold and so on. But there's the other advantages, that I think justify the cost. But in certain markets, we found that, for example, Poland loved the design, loved the product, really kind of forward thinking. But on the shop floor, the product is a little bit still today too expensive for really kind of mass.
And when you say a little bit, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50%?
Yeah, I would say in markets like Poland, for example, we're probably still 15 to 20% above, but very much getting there. And I think that all the involvement from the other markets, that helps us to manage costs. Now, I don't want to say that we're in a race to the bottom for 3D printed products. There's obviously, there's costs to be covered, and there's, a lot of value in those products, the design elements of them. Let's say there's complete design flexibility, there's a sustainability element. You only produce what you need when you need with the exact amount of material that you need. So there is a lot for a conscious consumer. It's an easy decision to make today to choose a 3D printed product. For an area which is equally as valid, where you need to be conscious of your pocket, then sometimes it's often the case with new technology. It takes a little bit longer to get it to that consumer favorable economics.
How long do you think that's going to take?
I'm optimistic that we'll start to see more and more market bands fall into the acceptable range, or that the technology or the product prices will fall into the acceptable range for more and more markets. I would say we're probably looking at 2 to 3 years before we have quite broad.
That's not bad.
No, it's not bad at all. And I think that that's really kind of, for me, one of the most difficult things about 3D printing is you could go to the shop or go online and you can buy a phone, or you can buy an extension lead, anything, but things that require an engineering degree and a degree in manufacturing and so on to create, but there's no technological gap between the creation of that and the purchase of that. In additive, there's still a massive gap between the end consumer and the availability, or the access and the availability of products. You really need to be a skilled designer. You need to know how to run these machines. You need to have access to some of these to these machines, and that's something that we feel. Our vision was always to make it as accessible to as many people as possible. That means closing that technological gap by making it as easy to purchase one of these products as you would purchase anything else. And for us, that's the reason why, we didn't get into prototyping. We targeted the types of businesses that we did because they have a hugely loyal customer base. They have access, they have the ability to promote a product, and they also have the volumes that help us to, or the ability to create volumes that help us to bring those prices down.
Did Specsavers come to you, or you to Specsavers?
We went to them. Generally speaking, our sales is all outgoing, basically.
At the moment?
At the moment, exactly. It's an education process as much as a sales process. I think there's been some cases where a company has come to us and they've been absolutely 100% ready to go. And
give me 5 products that you think must be so ready that in Ireland that you could be doing tomorrow morning if the customers were there.
If the customers were there. Obviously, the footwear, eyewear, and the decorative simple items are absolutely ready to go today. Maybe that complex iteration of it is maybe it's not that far away either. It could be. I'm optimistic that we will even do it this year in the UK.
When you say a complex iteration, are you talking about decorative eyewear or?
I'm talking about
decorative shoes.
Decorative shoes, exactly. No, shoes that would be my hope for this year. That customized shoes will be on the market. That you will go into the store, have your foot scanned. That scan will have our file wrapped around it, or our customer's file wrapped around it, around the scan of your foot. We'll print that on demand, and so that level of complexity is the additional factor that brings us, more forward.
What are these shoes made of?
These ones are made of TPU. It's a powder-based material. Well, it's powder-based for us, but it's very similar to rubber. It's a white rubber, and it's quite sustainable as well. Now, that's another thing. We do live in a world of plastic, and our existence does have side effects as well. But I think that's the thing that we need to maintain is only use the material that we need to use, and only create the products that we need to create. And then start and continue to look at more sustainable materials.
And I mentioned earlier funding. Are you trying to raise funds, or?
Yeah, when you're in a startup, and we've been in it for 7 years, you always have one eye on.
I love it. Startup for 7 years.
Startup for 7 years. I was actually, when I was thinking about this conversation on the way up, and I tend to run through things in my head. And on the 3-hour car drive, that was one of the things that I started to think about. Would I call ourselves still a startup? And on one hand, I like it, and on the other hand, I think, no, we've worked too hard and too long to be.
There are many 7-year-old startups, and a number that have pivoted often during that little journey. Exactly. Back to the funding. How much, when, who, what? Can we help? Can TeamGBS help you?
Yeah, absolutely. Our coming to the close of last year, we had targeted the EIC Accelerator fund in Europe, and we felt that our business is there's a lot of investment and a lot of there's a spotlight on sustainable supply chain and bringing jobs back to Europe, manufacturing jobs in particular. So we had targeted that, and we continue to work on that. It's a great fund, both equity and grant based, and you can do a mix of both with it, and they're a forward-looking fund for a very forward-looking fund. But then in the meantime, when the news started to become apparent that it was us that was involved in some of these on-demand projects, because we have as you know well, we have certain obligations, contractual obligations, who we can and can't say, and we can list everybody amongst our customers, but we can't say exactly what we're doing, But when it started to become apparent that we were involved in some of the major sea changes in the delivery of these products, then we started to be approached quite significantly by VCs, even.
Oh yeah, good.
And SPACs as well, or something that are, I hadn't really ever thought about a SPAC for us, but when it's put on the table, as our chairman would say, we have to look at everything.
Of course you do.
Exactly.
Yeah, and SPACs are looking for people just like you.
They are, exactly.
And for those who don't know what a SPAC is, it's a special purpose acquisition
company.
Company, is that what it is? Company.
Exactly.
Or corporation.
A corporation.
I think Donald Trump has one of those at the moment.
There is.
You'd never know, you might be working for D. Trump.
Or a British footballer.
So tell me this. Who would you, Shane Hassett, hire in a heartbeat?
In a heartbeat. all things salary and commitments and schedules.
That all goes out the door. It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
If you're going to work for Donald Trump, it doesn't matter.
That's true. Exactly. Someone I respect massively in the supply chain industry is Liam Casey from PCH.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what he did already in the early 90s was visionary. He identified an opportunity and he created a supply chain that was capable of delivering millions, if not hundreds of millions of really technologically advanced and not easy to manufacture products, phones, personal computers, these types of things. So I think that in many ways, we're in the same space. We're pushing boundaries in the way that he did and continues to do.
Have you spoken to him yet?
We've had one or two conversations.
Oh,
exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because I'd love to have him on the podcast. So if you're talking to him next time, tell him we'd love to have him join TeamGBS. That's really interesting. When will you, say by the end of the year, when will you have another big announcement?
I would say that we have one or two really nice things in the pipeline around this complex on demand. So I would expect that all things being going according to plan, we should have a really nice one for the summer, hopefully around, on demand, complex.
It's taken you 14 months to come back, and summer is only, 4 months away?
That's all.
That's great.
That's it. Yeah.
You might come back again.
Oh, absolutely.
At which point we might be able to discuss one of those brand names. Am I allowed to mention the brand name?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can list who are amongst our customers.
The big ones that I know.
You would know Ikea, Logitech. You mentioned Specsavers. The footwear side of things is a company called Vivo Barefoot, which is a subsidiary of Clark's. Yeah, I think our uniqueness in the market is represented by the types of businesses that want to work with us.
Fantastic. All based in Tralee, Gundahiri. Fantastic. Exactly. And soon to be dotted all throughout Europe and the world.
That's the plan.
It's a great, great story. That's Shane Hassett. You better give your co-founder a shout out. That is Mariana Cobal. Mariana started the business with me on day one. All her experience was around design and design for manufacturing. And would you know her well?
Mariana's actually my fiancée as well.
Get away. Mariana, next time you're coming in. I've had Sean, and now I've had Shane. Mariana's next.
That's it.
That's great. Shane Hassett, CEO, co-founder with Mariana Cobal of WAZP. Thank you so much for joining us on That Great Business Show.
Make one small switch. Switching from shaving foam to all-natural de facto shaving oil will give you the smoothest, softest shave ever. Switching from shaving oil to de facto helps stop 20 million non-recyclable shaving foam cans go to landfills every year. Switching from shaving oil to de facto will save your skin, your pocket and your planet. defactoshave.com.
Everyday accounting can be a bit of a drama for SMEs. However, BigRedCloud.com takes the drama away with its simple and easy to use cloud-based accounting and payroll software designed for SME owners. Raise and send invoices, manage VAT reports and obligations, run management reports, link directly to Irish banks, automatically import purchase invoices, and so much more. All with 5-star customer support. BigRedCloud.com, 100% Irish owned and a proud member of TeamGBS.
Backing great women-led businesses on every show. That Great Business Show.
Lego and Pokemon are two brands synonymous with childhood and play. And when you think about them, they had to be created by someone originally and built from scratch. Those two brands are now probably known in every part of the globe. One stepping stone along the way for them was to win recognition at the London Toy Fair, winning the prestigious Editor's Choice Award. Very, very early stage Irish startup Hollow Toys may be the next huge thing in global toys, because they have just come second in this year's Editor's Choice Award, an outstanding success for such a young company. Hollow Toys is so named because the toy is based on holograms. Its co-founders are CEO Kate Scot and Declan Fahey, who also happens to be her husband. And they're now joining TeamGBS. Welcome to That Great Business Show, Kate and Declan.
Thanks you very much.
Thanks for having us.
I was going to ask you or mention to you that this is not your first venture, but I've only just this very second found out all of this arose at a tattoo convention, as it does. Let me go back one step, because start with what the product is. Who wants to take it? Kate, you created this.
Yes, so at the moment we have tattoos, temporary tattoos.
stickers, wall decals and children's books that are aimed at 3 to 10-year-olds, and they all come to life with the magic of augmented reality.
Used on the phone, because I
Yes.
have just been seeing, is it a plesiosaurus or something running around on the phone?
A plesiosaurus.
Or one of those words.
Yes. And it teaches the child to say the word. So basically, the book is interactive.
I think I need to read it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's teaching the child, as they normally would read a book in 2D, but our app brings it to life almost like a digital pop-up. It is a digital pop-up. So it teaches them how to say the words, and the animation is in 3D along with it.
Okay, that's the idea, that's the concept. And Declan, you told me that this all came from a tattoo convention. Neither of you looked like the kind of tattoo types.
No, not really.
What were you doing at a tattoo convention?
We were having a midlife crisis and we decided to, so basically, really it even goes back further than that. And Kate has always had a love for augmented reality. That goes back as far as, 12 years now,
12
I think,
years,
when you first worked with Absolute Vodka on an on-trade activation, which was one of the first of its kind in Ireland. And then it wasn't until fast forward really 10 years later when she kind of went out on her own as part of a consultancy. And she was consulting with an agency based up in Belfast, an augmented reality, virtual reality agency who are great. And she just was researching in the area. And through that research, we came across a company called Skin Motion. And Skin Motion was an app that basically, when held the app over a tattoo, it would actually play a sound file. And this was amazing because at the time, when you're kind of, approaching 40 and you have 2 beautiful kids, age 7 and 5, you kind of want to mark them in some way or do something beautiful for them. And, it really did appeal to me that we could maybe get a sound wave tattoo that you could actually hold the device over and then you could hear the kids saying, "I love you, Daddy," or whatever. So this was just a real creative, cool thing that really
I'm going to
appealed
drop
us.
my pen here and say, I'm obviously from a different generation. But pray carry on.
Yeah, so it just happened. We were on the quays one day. We saw a sign that said tattoo convention November 1st to the 3rd or something, and we decided, look, let's just go to this. And you know what, we'll use it as a date night because we didn't really have too many date nights at the time. And we dropped our kids off at Nanny and Gaga's house and went into the tattoo convention. But unfortunately, we just didn't really see much technology in this space. And driving home, we were a little bit kind of disappointed because we were like, we were really hoping to kind of see a certain level of creativity, because the tattoo world is such a creative world that, why wouldn't it be a next step that they would layer technology on top of this? And then through conversations on that way home between Ballsbridge and Tara, we got talking about it and we said, look, would tattoos really work in this space?
Isn't it mad the kind of conversations people have?
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking, what do you have for dinner? You're talking about...
Yeah. Augmented reality tattoos. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it, because we kind of said, look, maybe this wouldn't actually work in the adult world because it probably wouldn't be aimed at the right people. So then we said, what it would work well is with children. Yeah. And we then kind of, I don't know, at that point you started getting on your phone, Kate, and started
researching to see was it a thing,
And it wasn't or was, or did you guys come up with it first?
Yeah, so we started talking about it and I just wanted, as you do, Google to see, does it exist? Because it is a great idea. And we found a company in Baltimore in the USA who had created a test tattoo range, but they used them as business cards. It wasn't actually brought to market as a thing, So I contacted the CEO of this. They're an AOR/VR agency in Baltimore in the US. Contacted the CEO that night. It was a Sunday night.
How did you make that contact?
I just through Googling, literally found him on LinkedIn, sent him a message on LinkedIn.
See, we keep on this podcast saying LinkedIn.
Yeah, it really does
so
work.
powerful.
Oh, it's so powerful. And, you have to try these things. And I think you get to a certain stage in your career that you just don't care anymore, whereas in your kind of early in your career, you care too much what people think, but you just don't care. So I sent him an email and I said, look, we'd love to have a chat. We think there's a good opportunity maybe to bring this to market. We could be a European partner. And he just said, look, come back with a proposal. So we did. We worked out a proposal and it really just grew from there. And I think the opportunity has grown, since that moment.
That was on the 2nd of November, or 3rd of November, I remember, back of 2019.
Yeah.
And what we did was we pitched what we believed at the time was to be our vision. for what this could be. And because the technology was available to us, it was so scalable that all you really needed was image recognition. So we immediately was like, oh my God, we can do this with books, we can do it with tattoos, but also stickers. Because, I mean, as a parent of a 5 and 7-year-old, you know that kids love stickers and they stick them absolutely everywhere. So it just made sense and it really excited us massively. And we pitched to them and they loved our energy and they loved they had a very similar kind of vision for what they believed could happen. But again, to Kate's point, they never brought this to market anywhere. They used it as a creative way to be able to showcase their creative executions in an augmented and virtual world. So we hopped on a plane, went over, and we did a deal with these guys. They were just the most amazing crew of people. They've over 40 years experience in the tech world. I think they sold their first business to Atari back in 1991. So that'll tell you
how. That's a long time ago.
Yeah, absolutely. But
they're
these
tech veterans. They are amazing.
Yeah, and these guys have created some of the most amazing visual artistry for like Marvel and Disney, globally. So we knew that we were literally getting to bed with people who are just so well qualified in this area, and it just gave us
and
gave
the
us
chemistry.
peace of mind.
The chemistry was brilliant between us all.
Yeah.
We all sat around the board table in this converted bus depot in Baltimore. And, they had a wall decal, the massive wall decal that came to life. And we just knew there was just this magic chemistry.
Wow.
There was just so many wow moments very early on in our meeting with them.
We were all aligned. And at that moment, we just decided, let's try this, let's go for it.
So, Hollow Toys, and I keep saying Hollow because you told me to say, because it's not Hollow Toys, it's Hollow Toys, was born.
Hollow Toys was born, yeah.
Now, I could go off so many little rabbit holes because I still have to talk to you about your previous business and also, Declan, that you have a background in newspaper advertising, which has nothing to do with this whatsoever.
No, nothing to do with this, absolutely. but it did teach me a lot in terms of managing revenues and, and the
setting
corporate
up on
life
your own.
and all of that, exactly. But really, I suppose our retail backstory is probably the one that we've brought most of our skill set into Hollow Toys, and that's through a company we formed back in 2009. At the time, it was called the Party Cup Company, or Red Cups Limited, actually. We basically brought the world famous red solo cup or beer pong cup that you would be synonymous with lots of American MTV movies and all that. We brought it to the UK and Ireland.
The one that you see all the frat boys drinking from.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. And we quickly established that company. Tesco were the first retailer to support us in a big way, and we also, we were packing cups in our garage, for 2 years nearly at the start. But we very quickly managed to secure up to 48 different SKUs in Tesco Ireland, but also in Tesco UK and Morrison's and Asda. And it just kept growing and growing. And, we did that with my business partner, Paul Cosgrave, who's also our business partner with Hollow Toys as well. So
you've got the creds. Now tell me about, because you were meant to come on to the show, is it some months ago and what happened? You went to Germany, or you didn't go to Germany?
Oh no, so Spielwarenmesse was supposed to happen. Yes, Spielwarenmesse is the biggest toy fair in the world. And actually, when we came up with this concept at the beginning, Declan went to Germany. We took a stand, we designed a stand and exhibited it just before the world went into lockdown. And we literally, Declan and Paul went over for a week, stood there, met distributors from all over the world. And the concept was just absolutely loved. The reaction was just phenomenal.
Yeah, it was a litmus test for us in terms of, whether
but what are you selling? I mean, how can you show them? Did you have?
Well, we did. So we developed enough samples to be able to kind of sell this dream and to understand if the industry was going to take to it or not. Yeah. But it was, the reaction was just phenomenal.
Amazing. And then the guys came back from Germany, and then literally it felt like overnight. Obviously, COVID happened. So we had all these distributors' details, and we started growing the business from there. But then the toy fairs, which are really important to the business, obviously were all cancelled over the last 2 years. So Spielwarenmesse assured us that it was going ahead this year. And like that, we went full on, got the stand created, got the staff organised, got all of our stuff ready to go. Because we also, and I'm sure we'll talk about it in a second, have partnerships with Viacom Nickelodeon for Paw Patrol and Sega. So this was our opportunity to go out and sell, this new range, really exciting. And then it was just, the rug was pulled from under us. It was cancelled 2.5 weeks out. So we pivoted and decided to go to the London Toy Fair. And we're obviously delighted that we did now. Because
And what was that like? You won second place, like out of
we couldn't believe it. 260 companies basically were demonstrating their portfolio of products there, and we came second in terms of the editor's choice.
Completely unexpected?
Completely unexpected.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
But the stars were aligning. I mean, Kate did such an amazing job at designing the entire stand. We have this, our purple is kind of our kind of brand colour.
That purple is too close to Barney. If you have anything to do with Barney, you're out of the door here.
No.
Well, I'll tell you,
we don't want Barney running around.
It was amazing because when we walked into the toy fair, myself and Paul walked in, and we couldn't believe the colour of the carpet was exactly the same Pantone as our purple on our stand, and it just looked amazing because
only people in advertising would refer to the Pantone.
Probably, but it was just these little things are the things that just kind of like they just put you in a better mood than you are, and it just kind of gives you the good feels, and there's the things that really help when you're selling something.
But it was brilliant because when I went over on the Thursday, and the amount of people that came up to the stand saying, we were told we had to come up and see Holler Toys, this is the next big thing. So there was just fantastic.
So the business, what is the business? Where are you selling? How are you selling? Where's the cash coming from?
So we've kind of 4 main revenue streams really. So the first one is distributor. Okay, distributor. We're actively looking for distributors right now globally. We do have presence in over 12 countries at the moment. I'm not going to name all the countries out, but we are, thanks to us picking up silver last week, that has opened us up to a further, I think, around 10 countries at the moment.
I was reading, as you do, is it called something like Toys Weekly or something like that?
Toy World. Yeah.
So you see what you make me read? Yeah. And they gave you not just 2 thumbs up, 5 thumbs up.
The guys in Toy World magazine, John Balch and Mark Austin, they're just amazing guys to support us, especially because we are brand new. We are, we registered the business in May 2020. We are literally only a year and a half old.
Yeah.
But also, sorry to cut across, the toy industry is like a family, it really is. And everyone's so
But you
helpful.
wouldn't have known this.
No. And it's amazing how, we are only in 2 years, but...
Absolute vodka, nothing to do with toys.
No, but it's
but all to do with fun, though. Yeah.
But back to the revenue streams so that people will understand what it looks like.
So distributors is our main go-to. That's going to, in our projections, it's going to pretty much take up 70 or 60% of our revenue. But also we're looking for retailers directly. What we do is very easy to do without a distributor in mind because of the fact that our stickers and tattoos, they're very small packs. They are kind of slivers of paper in a way.
But you have to produce them, you have to ship them.
Exactly. We can ship them. We can send them directly to retailers all over the world.
And where are they coming from?
Right now, we're in with Hamleys and FAO.
No. Why would the actual production?
Oh, sorry. So the production, this is great because all of our products can actually be domestically manufactured in whatever market we actually are in. So our wall decals, they're actually made in the States. Apart from them, everything else can be domestically manufactured. So
this wall decal, which has kind of a fairy thing or something.
It's unicorns, mermaids, and dinosaurs.
And if I put my phone onto that, is she going to start talking to me?
She's going to jump off your wall, twirl around, sing to you.
It must be mad for kids in their bedroom.
Oh, it's complete magic.
And how much is that now? I'm sorry, this is radio or podcast. But where I'm looking at, just imagine what you stick onto the wall of a kid, but it doesn't move at the moment, but it will. Yeah. How much is this fella here?
So right now, our wall decals are retailing for $24.99. Okay. Now, for that, you get 11 bonus decals as well. So you can really dress up a full wall in your room. But really, to be honest, with economies of scale, we will be able to bring the price point of that down pretty soon. Our stickers and tattoos retail for $5.99 for a pack of 10, and you get 10 animations that all come to life. And the tattoos are especially something that needs to be experienced in real life, because when you have a skeleton or a spider crawling out of your hand, it really just has to be experienced in real life. And our books, we have 3 different themes. We've got dinosaurs, pet parties, which is basically a lot of pets you'd find around the house, and they're educational. They do kind of, especially where our sea creatures, like, Kate, what was the educational factor around the sea creatures is the fact that, it does educate you around the treating the ocean.
For those who can't see her, she's saying, what is he talking about?
I know.
I'm in sales mode here.
It's because we talk about STEAM. STEAM, which used to be STEM, is it's an important focus for us because obviously science, technology, engineering, arts and maths.
So correct. I learned about STEAM, yes.
Yeah. So educating kids. I mean, this generation of children are going to be the most educated in the world. The Generation Alpha, they are digital cohort, like they're digital
have to catch
natives.
up with me.
Yeah, I know. But they are so savvy. You
Back
know?
to the business.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got distributors, we've got retailers. We also sell directly online as well to the consumer. And to be honest,
Around the world?
At the moment. So influencer marketing is really, really key for driving our online sales. And
Name me some of these influencers that I will never know.
Well, if you look at our Instagram, we have worked with so many influencers.
We've only worked so far with the Irish influencers far, but they have been great.
Kim Kardashian, nobody like that.
No, but we're working on that. Oh, well, there's so many of them at this stage. But we've worked with really brilliant. Ruth Garrity is a friend of mine. She's been fantastic. House of Goose. She's just brilliant. Rachel Gary actually helped us before, but loads of them. We've worked with fabulous influencers, and actually they're really supportive.
But I'm looking at,
Makeup was
as you keep saying, an 18-month-old business which could take over the world, but you have to pay for all of this. I mean, this is like, what's keeping the ship afloat?
Yeah, so we're revenue generating at the moment. I mean, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, for the so far we're just touching over, approaching 500,000 in terms of our revenue stream. So, no, just to date. But I mean, you have to remember, this company was only registered in May.
That's what I was saying.
So we've had to. That's from concept really to where we are today.
And you, Kate, want to get the Viacom because I mean, Viacom is ginormous.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge.
Where did you get them? How did you get them? Explain to the world who Viacom is.
So Viacom are one of the largest media organisations, I suppose, in the world. They own Nickelodeon, right? So Nickelodeon.
That's all you need to know.
Yeah, Nickelodeon have they work with Paw Patrol. So as we know, Spin Master owns Paw Patrol, and Spin Master works closely with.
I don't have to watch this stuff anymore.
I know. We're all in that world. We're still in that world very much. But I think a lot of parents listening to this will know Paw Patrol very well. And I suppose COVID has helped some businesses and hindered others. And I think for us, it definitely helped because, as I mentioned, even though the toy fair was cancelled last year in Germany, we did a digital online Instagram live presentation of our range to people all over the world. So we took over their Instagram page, and one of the girls who worked for Viacom, Alexandra, she was just happened to see our presentation and contacted us and asked us to partner with them. So, that's a pinch me moment, much like the London Toy Fair. There's been so many pinch me moments like that we just can't believe. So that was a dream come true for us. We obviously went back and said 100% we'd love to work with you. So we've now created a range of Paw Patrol characters that come to life through augmented reality. They're going to be launched in March.
That's a world's first, by the way.
Yeah, it's a world's first.
Yeah.
We have loads of markets.
I know how massive Paw Patrol is.
Well, what it means is that, your children, if they're fans of the Paw Patrol characters, they're going to be able to actually, take video footage, like take photographs with their favourite cartoon characters in a way that was never been done before.
So they can interact with them through the app. Yeah. They can tap to place them in the room with them.
And this isn't just an app, by the way, because you see, it's very important in terms of the problem that we're trying to solve here is the fact that as parents of a 5 and 7 year old, we don't want our children to lose touch with the physical world.
You better name them for posterity.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Ryan and Emily. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
You keep saying 5 and 7 year old. Yeah. For Ryan and Emily. Well done to
And then following Viacom, we were introduced to Sega, and Sega are really proud to work with us as well, and we've signed contracts with them, and we're creating Sonic the Hedgehog range now. So that's coming out in the summer. We'll be creating books for Paw Patrol. We'll be creating jigsaws with Sonic. Jigsaws, so basically we all know how much kids love jigsaws, and the bonus element of finishing that, putting the last piece in, and then being able to see it come to life and interacting with it. You
have shown me this in use. Do I download it onto my phone and that's it? Or so therefore do the kids have to have phones
Yeah, so basically look, this is a physical range of products, okay? And the reason that that's really, really important to us is because I suppose the problem that we're trying to fix here with this business is the fact that from a parent's perspective, you can see this huge engagement numbers with AR technology, augmented reality technology, on the social media giants such as TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram. The problem with these social giants is the fact that, when kids are using these filters or whatever, having fun with these creations and technology, because it is fun, they are literally a swipe away from content that is simply inappropriate for their age. And from a parent's perspective, we have designed this entire company with our parents' hat on. And the reason for that is because if you have children who have a love for this technology, they really only have very few options open to them, and they are digital only experiences. And we don't want our children to lose touch with the physical world. But also the toy industry is losing out hugely because of this emerging technology. You can see it with the gaming industry. You know, you don't have to go in and buy a physical game in a shop anymore. You can just download it to your Switch or your PlayStation or whatever. And the same thing can be happening with physical toys. So what we're trying to do is bridge the gap between the physical toy or the tangible product that you can sell in a store and make margin on, and the digital play, which makes it relevant to the
He's very good at sales, isn't he?
He's very good. That's why I hired him.
And he didn't actually, I didn't see him breathe.
He doesn't really need to breathe.
2 minutes to answer 2 questions. First question, and Kate, your man needs a breath at this stage, I think. Answer me this. What could TeamGBS, that'll be our listeners, what could they do for you, either in Ireland and or worldwide?
When you say TeamGBS,
they're all our listeners.
Oh, the listeners.
Yeah.
Well, spread the word, spread the word. Word of mouth is obviously the best type of marketing.
I think once people see it, they're going to say...
I was just going to say...
Oh my God.
Yeah, you have to see it to believe it. Right?
Somebody told me the other day that I was a little bit underwhelmed by a guest, and I said, maybe... I'm overwhelmed. Is that a word? Overwhelmed?
Overwhelmed is a great word to describe holidays.
It is. Nuts.
Well, do you know what? The word that describes holidays most is wow. And I'll tell you why. Because you see, every single time someone sees our animations coming to life for the first time, they just say wow. Yeah. And it really does have to be seen to be believed.
And actually, I was just in touch with a journalist from Forbes yesterday who's asked me to send him product. So I'm working on that now. And I've just said to him, you have to see it to believe it, So it is true for the product.
So look, say that they're going to listen to the podcast.
I will send that in my email today, Conal. I love it.
Final question to you chatterboxes. Yeah. You can chat away on the way home. Did you say you're in Tara? Tara County Meath?
Tara County Meath.
Beside the hill of Tara.
Gorgeous.
Where the Royals live.
And used to live.
We're in the midst.
Question. Who would Kate and/or Declan hire in a heartbeat?
Well, you're the CEO, Kate, so you answer that.
Yeah, so I thought about this, and without hesitation, in the toy industry, I'd have to say Barbie. Barbie is an icon and has remained an icon.
That is brilliant idea.
She's
and a brilliant answer.
Yeah, she's fantastic. She's 63 years of age this year.
63 in March.
And she has remained the top spot in the global toy industry.
She's a powerhouse.
And she's changed and adapted herself and is very conscious of diversity and eco and she's amazing.
And Barbie is made by Mattel.
Correct. Yeah.
And is Mattel on your
Mattel is on our radar. We've spoken to Mattel and hopefully we'll be talking to them again.
Now, how many people would know that Barbie is made by Mattel? I always amaze myself.
I think you should join our team. Team Holotoys instead of TeamGBS.
TeamGBS. Now, I'm going to unfortunately have to wrap it up there because we are running out of time.
Thank you so much for the time.
Oh, no, thank you. Listen, anybody who wants to see an incredible toy, it's not even a toy, it's kind of, I don't know how you describe it, because when you see this in a bedroom, I can see it in the bedroom, kids they won't go to sleep. Yeah. They just love it.
We actually have a TV ad out soon, which will, help to showcase what it is. But the whole range of products.
You can see it online anyway.
Absolutely, holotoys.com. You can buy them all there.
Yep.
That is Kate Scott, co-founder and CEO. That's very important. She's the CEO. And the other fella is Declan Fahey, who's a co-founder and a chatterbox. But thank you so much for joining us on That Great Business Show. And that is it from That Great Business Show, episode 73. Please share, retweet this podcast with all of your connections on social media. And when you do, you will look smart and you will put a big, fat, happy smile on the faces of TeamGBS. Do it now before you forget. It's just the click of a button away, but it means commercial success for us. And also do subscribe to the podcast on your favourite podcast platform. That makes sure that Ireland's best business podcast is always to hand. And my thanks to all of the team here at the Dublin Podcast Studios, including today's sound engineer, another newbie, it's David Murray. And thank you, David. And then Peter Rice will take over later on, who polishes up and makes sure we are the world's best sounding podcast. We are here to help businesses just like yours. So if there are issues or topics you would like to cover, do contact us using LinkedIn, where we have our dedicated LinkedIn page, and you can have a chat with us directly. Can't remember, Kate, did you contact us or did we contact you? I think I might have contacted you.
Yes, you
but I would have chased chased you down through LinkedIn, I'm sure. If you're planning an ad campaign, we would love to help. Join companies like the Big Red Cloud and Virgin Media, as well as organisations like ISME and Udros na Gaeltachta, who recognise it's a great way to talk to Ireland's SMEs. Contact us at thegreatbusinessshow.com. And as always, the great business insights you hear on That Great Business Show are only made possible thanks to our sponsor, the great makers of the world's best shaving oil, De Facto. Made in Mayo, sold worldwide, our thanks to them. So from me, Conal O'Moran, má bhuíochas libh ar fad agus slán tamil.